I've had some questions about generally how to put all the training together, so I thought I'd share with you on the whiteboard here a bit of an overview of how I put everything together. Right, okay, so if I begin by giving you an overview here, so if we have a 4-week block program and we start with a low week, then a medium week, and then a high week, and then a deload. And that will be our first block of training, and that is our first 4 weeks of training there. And this first block, that would actually be a strength block there. Let's use the scroll. So we've got strength training there for that first 4 weeks, and we gradually increase the load there week by week. So we have a low, a medium, a high, and a deload there. And then the next block of training, we then have a low week, but it's stepped up a bit higher. We have a medium week, and we have a high week, and then another deload there. And as you can see, that increases on the high week there on what we had from the week before. And that's typically something like 1 to 5% increase on the previous block, depending on how long you've been training. If you haven't been training too long, then 5% increase is quite realistic. If you've been training for a long time, then a 1% increase is doing pretty well because you're closer to your limit there. So once again, we've got low, we've got medium, we've got high, and we've got deload. And that would mark our next block, which the focus would be on power training. So we take the strength that we've got there initially and then convert that into power. And the next block, we then go low, medium, high, and deload. And this would be a speed training focus block here. And then on the end here, this would actually be our peak performance day on the end here. We've worked through all of these qualities, building strength as a foundation, converting that into power, and then converting that into speed. And again, you can see we've got this between 1 to 5% improvement or increase in terms of the load over that block of training. So there we have all of our weeks right through here up to 12 weeks, with the kind of the end of the 12th week there, like I say, being your peak, and that's where your best fight would be placed, just there. And in terms of low, medium, high, and deload, the way I like to work this in terms of strength and power training, if this on a low week you feel like you've got about 4 reps left in you, so minus 4 rep max. On a medium week, if you feel like you've got about 2 reps left in you, or a minus 2 rep max, and then the high week feels like that is your rep max right there. So whatever number of repetitions you've got, that should be your maximum. I also make that, actually the high week is my testing week. So I'd like to see whatever load I've got prescribed there, do the maximum number of repetitions on that. On a deload week, we're probably looking at a minus 5 to 6 rep max there. So it's back down, so you've got 5 to 6 reps left in you still with perfect form. And in terms of how this all looks with respect to exercises, I kind of give you some charts here. So we have got most of this here is going to be strength training with a portion of power work, and then a small focus of speed training just to keep that as maintenance. And in the power block, we've got maintenance on the strength, we've got the developmental load on the power, and then we've got a slight increase in the speed training as well, as we transfer into that a little bit more explosive power and rapid movement. And in the speed block, we've got some maintenance on the strength. We've then got some maintenance on the power, and then lots of developmental work on the speed training. And the types of lifts we've got here, and for the strength training, we've got all the heavy bilateral lifts. So we've got deadlifts, we've got squats, we've got bench presses, we've got chin-ups, that kind of thing there. For the power training, we've got all the Olympic lifts and the variants there. And then for the speed training, it's all plyometrics and the med ball work. to explain that further with the force velocity curve. So if we've got maximum force going up that way and then maximum velocity going up that way, then we've got a kind of a distribution like this, where at the strength end of the curve here we've got the slow moving lifts, so like the deadlifts, these kind of things here, bench press and chin-ups. We've then on the power side of things, through the main portion of the curve here, we've got the Olympic lifts and all of the variants there. And then for the speed end of the curve here, we've got all of the plyos and the med ball work here. So just having a little look at the conditioning aspect on here now. So we start with general work, and then as we progress through here, we have more specific work. So we begin with like a bilateral emphasis, and we move to more of unilateral emphasis here, one-legged strength, one-armed strength, all that kind of stuff closer to the fight there, and everything gets more relative to Muay Thai itself. And the conditioning moves from an aerobic power emphasis into more of a power endurance. And that means moving from extensive intervals here onto intensive intervals. So with extensive intervals, that's anything from sort of 2 to 3 minutes up to sort of 30 to 40 minutes if you're doing steady state stuff. And intensive intervals, typically anything from kind of like 3 to 10 seconds. So I hope that gives you a bit of an overview and makes sense. If you want to download this as like a little bit of an infographic for reference, then click the link to get hold of that.